The geopolitical map of the Middle East just shifted in a way that Washington and Brussels never anticipated. In the last 72 hours, intelligence reports have confirmed a deepening of the strategic pact between Moscow and Tehran that goes far beyond simple arms transfers. This isn't just about drones anymore. It is a fundamental realignment of power that threatens to destabilize the entire region. While the world watches the front lines in Ukraine, a quiet revolution is happening inside Iran's power structure that could determine the fate of millions. But to understand why this specific moment is so dangerous, we have to look at the secret deal that is keeping the Islamic Republic afloat. I'm Nora Blake, and you're watching Nora Blake Reports. If you want to understand the reality behind the headlines and stay ahead of these critical global shifts, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. The narrative you are hearing in the mainstream media about a collapsing regime is only half the story. The truth is far more complex and significantly more alarming. To see what is really happening, we need to examine the new verified intelligence coming out of Tehran. Contrary to sensational rumors suggesting the supreme leader has fled, verified intelligence confirms that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei remains firmly in control in Tehran. However, the nature of that control has shifted dramatically. The regime is no longer relying solely on religious legitimacy or public support, both of which have eroded significantly since the 2022 uprising. Instead, the Islamic Republic has transitioned into what analysts describe as a security military state. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, has consolidated power over almost every sector of the Iranian economy, from telecommunications to construction. This isn't a government in hiding, it is a government that is fortifying itself against its own people. The administration is well aware of the deep-seated anger within the population, and rather than fleeing, they are digging in, using sophisticated surveillance technology, often imported from allies like China and Russia, to monitor dissent before it turns into street protests. To understand the volatility of the situation, we must look at the economic indicators, which are flashing red. Inflation in Iran continues to hover above 40%, decimating the purchasing power of the middle class. The Iranian rial has lost historic value against the US dollar, making imported goods and basic medicines unaffordable for millions of ordinary citizens. This economic mismanagement is not just an unfortunate side effect of sanctions. It is a result of systemic corruption and the prioritization of military spending over public welfare. While verified reports from international financial institutions paint a bleak picture, the regime continues to funnel billions into its proxy networks across the Middle East. This disconnect between a starving population and a wealthy military elite is the primary driver of internal instability. It creates a pressure cooker environment where the next spark could come from anywhere. A rise in fuel prices, a water shortage, or another crackdown on civil liberties. There has been a lot of misinformation circulating regarding casualty numbers in Iran. As a responsible news channel, we stick strictly to verified data. The United Nations fact-finding mission has officially confirmed that during the Woman Life Freedom movement, credible estimates placed the death toll at over 550 people, including dozens of children. While some sources circulate inflated numbers like 30,000 in 2 days, the verified reality is horrific enough without exaggeration. The UN has explicitly stated that the actions of the state amounted to crimes against humanity, including gender persecution, torture, and enforced disappearances. The regime has also utilized capital punishment as a tool of political intimidation. In 2023 alone, rights groups documented at least 834 executions, a staggering number intended to send a chilling message to anyone considering dissent. This systematic state violence is verified, documented, and ongoing. One of the most sensitive topics in Tehran today is the question of succession. Ayatollah Khamenei is in his mid-80s, and while he has not abdicated or fled, the jockeying for position among the elite is intense. Intelligence analysts have long focused on Mojtaba Khamenei, the supreme leader's second son, as a potential successor. Mojtaba holds no official elected position, yet he wields immense influence within the deep state and the intelligence apparatus of the IRGC. The prospect of a hereditary succession in a revolutionary republic that overthrew a monarchy is ironic and deeply controversial, even among the clergy. This internal power struggle creates a moment of extreme vulnerability for the regime. History tells us that authoritarian regimes are most fragile during leadership transitions. This uncertainty is why the security forces are on such high alert. They are not just protecting the current leader, they are securing the future of the entire system against internal rivals. Now we must address the external lifeline that is keeping Tehran emboldened, the relationship with Russia. Contrary to rumors of betrayal, the military and strategic ties between Moscow and Tehran are stronger than they have ever been. This is a marriage of convenience born out of mutual isolation from the West. Since the invasion of Ukraine, Iran has become a critical supplier of military hardware to Russia, specifically the Shahed series loitering munitions and artillery shells. In return, Tehran seeks advanced Russian military technology, including Su-35 fighter jets and advanced air defense systems. This is not a one-way street, it is a transactional partnership. While there are occasional diplomatic spats, such as Russia's nuanced stance on Gulf islands claimed by the UAE, the core military alliance is solid. Russia needs Iran's weapons, and Iran needs Russia's diplomatic cover at the UN Security Council and its technical military support. Perhaps the most alarming aspect of this geopolitical puzzle is Iran's nuclear program. International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, reports confirm that Iran has enriched uranium to near weapons-grade levels of 60%. The breakout time, the time required to produce enough fissile material for a single nuclear weapon, is now measured in days or weeks, not months. This advancement has fundamentally changed the security calculus for the United States, Israel, and Europe. The regime views a nuclear deterrent as the ultimate insurance policy against the kind of regime change operations seen elsewhere in the region. While there is no verified evidence that a decision to weaponize has been made, the capability is undeniably there. This puts the entire region on a hair-trigger alert, where a single miscalculation or intelligence failure could lead to a preemptive military strike by Israel or the United States to prevent a nuclear Iran. Beyond its borders, Iran projects power through its axis of resistance. This network includes Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Syria and Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen. Through these proxies, Tehran can exert pressure on Israel, disrupt global shipping in the Red Sea, and target U.S. bases without directly engaging in a conventional war. Verified intelligence shows that despite the economic crisis at home, funding and weapons flows to these groups have remained a priority. This strategy allows Iran to fight its battles on foreign soil, keeping the conflict away from Tehran. However, this strategy carries immense risk. The recent escalations in the region have shown that the shadow war is coming out into the open. Direct exchanges of fire between states are becoming more common, eroding the plausible deniability that previously kept a full-scale regional war at bay. The regime is walking a tightrope between projecting strength and provoking a conflict it cannot win. Despite the brutal crackdown verified by human rights organizations, the spirit of resistance within Iran has not been extinguished. It has merely evolved. The woman life freedom movement shifted the culture permanently. We are seeing a campaign of civil disobedience that is harder for the security forces to crush than street protests. Women appearing in public without mandatory hijab, labor strikes in key industrial sectors like oil and gas, and a widespread boycott of elections are all verified forms of dissent occurring right now. The regime's legitimacy crisis is evident in the record low voter turnout numbers, which the government itself has struggled to hide. This passive resistance is eroding the ideological foundation of the Islamic Republic. A government can rule by force for a long time, but it cannot rule effectively without some degree of public consent, which is rapidly vanishing. To counter this evolving dissent, the Iranian state is building what experts call a digital firewall. Verified reports indicate that the government is investing heavily in a national information network, essentially a domestic internet that can be cut off from the global web. This allows the regime to control the flow of information during times of crisis, preventing videos of crackdowns from reaching the outside world. Furthermore, the use of facial recognition technology to identify women not wearing hijab in public spaces is a verified development. This technological authoritarianism represents a new frontier in state control. It is a chilling reminder that modern dictatorships do not just use batons and bullets, they use algorithms and data. This digital repression is a key area where Russian and Chinese technical assistance is suspected to be playing a vital role in bolstering Iran's capabilities. We cannot discuss Iran's stability without looking at its arch-rival, Israel. The shadow war between these two nations has intensified significantly. Verified reports of sabotage at Iranian nuclear facilities, assassinations of key IRGC scientists and commanders, and cyber attacks on Iranian infrastructure point to a sustained campaign to degrade Iran's capabilities. Israel has made it clear that it will not tolerate a nuclear-armed Iran. This external pressure forces the Iranian regime to remain on a constant war footing, diverting even more resources to security. The recent direct exchange of missiles was a watershed moment, proving that the conflict is no longer limited to proxies. For the leadership in Tehran, the threat of an Israeli strike on critical infrastructure, oil terminals, or nuclear sites, is a verified existential threat that drives much of their foreign policy and military posture. While the West has imposed crushing sanctions, Iran has sought to break its isolation by pivoting to the East and the global South. Iran's recent admission into the BRICS alliance and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, are verified diplomatic victories for the regime. These memberships do not solve Iran's immediate economic problems, but they provide a political safety net. They signal that despite Western efforts, Iran is not completely isolated on the world stage. Trade with China remains the economic lifeline, with Beijing purchasing the vast majority of Iran's illicit oil exports. This revenue, though discounted, provides just enough hard currency to keep the security forces paid and the lights on. Understanding this geopolitical pivot is crucial. Iran is betting its future on a multipolar world where US sanctions no longer hold the power to collapse a nation's economy completely. An often overlooked factor that could destabilize the regime is the verified environmental crisis ravaging the country. Mismanagement of water resources, coupled with climate change, has led to the drying up of vital lakes and rivers. In regions like Khuzestan and Isfahan, water shortages have previously triggered massive protests. This is not a political issue that can be solved with propaganda, it is a resource reality. The government's inability to provide basic water security is driving rural populations into cities, increasing unemployment and social friction. Verified data shows that environmental migration within Iran is accelerating. When a government cannot provide water, its legitimacy evaporates even faster. This is a ticking time bomb that the security forces cannot arrest or execute their way out of, and it poses a long-term threat to the stability of the state. So, where does this leave us? The intelligence points to a regime that is brittle, but not currently collapsing. The runaway leader stories are false, but the reality of a bunker mentality leadership is true. The Islamic Republic is in a race against time. They are racing to secure a nuclear deterrent and solidify the succession before the economic and social pressures cause a rupture they cannot contain. The alliance with Russia provides a shield, but it is not a guarantee of survival. The variables are moving fast. The health of the supreme leader, the patience of the Iranian people, and the calculations of Israel and the United States. We are entering a period of maximum danger, where the status quo is becoming increasingly unsustainable for everyone involved. The situation in Iran is far more critical than the rumors suggest. It is not about a leader fleeing in the night. It is about a nation being transformed into a fortress to survive a siege from its own people and the outside world. The consequences of a nuclear-armed, isolated, and unstable Iran will be felt in energy markets, global security, and international diplomacy for years to come. We will continue to monitor these developments with verified intelligence, cutting through the noise to bring you the facts. If you value this kind of in-depth, fact-based analysis, please subscribe to Nora Blake Reports. Leave a comment below. Do you think the alliance with Russia will save the Iranian regime, or is internal collapse inevitable? I read your comments and want to hear your perspective. Share this video to help spread awareness of the real situation. I'm Nora Blake, and I'll see you in the next report.